podcast is Press Steam to Start. This is my friend Jackson,
Hello.
and we are going to talk about Steam Deck and other gaming news. We're really excited about this. We've been playing this for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, getting this off the ground,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty stoked about it. So, what are we going to talk about today?
All right. So in the dock today, we've got the Steam Deck gets its first sale. The 3DS Wii U eShops close on the 27th. Valve releases purchable boot videos. Decky Recorder adds the ability to save recordings. EA are still dicks and delisting Battlefield Bad Company 1 and 2. Valve announces a new APU driver for Windows, if that's your sort of thing. Call of Duty Black Ops 3 gets some Proton fixes. EmuDECK devs tease a new feature in an interview. And ProtonGE gets some updates.
Cool. So let's talk about this first story here.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, go
Tell me
ahead.
tell me about what's going on here. Deck. We got a bunch of new Deck verified games this week.
Oh yeah. I was gonna throw that in at the end, but we can start with Deck Verified of the Week. So I want to do a segment where we highlight more or less every game that is Deck Verified within that week to help show that developers are really thinking about the Steam Deck. So
Hmm.
big headliner we got is Dying Light 2, sequel to the first parkour melee zombie open world game. 20 years later, your goal is simple: stay human. Uh,
Mm.
After that, we've got Death in the Water 2. Uh, Looks creepy. At its core, a wave-based shooter. Dive into forbidding waters and try your best to survive monstrous aquatic foes, including the Kraken. Planet Cube Edge. Precision platformer 2D side-scrolling shooter. Save Planet Cube from a mysterious aggressor. Rustled Pete. An unforgiving boss rush. Ooh-wee. Let's start again. A Rustled Pete, an unforgiving boss rush game where the only boss is Pete the Rustled. He has 4 forms, and each one is harder than the last. One of those kind of,
Okay,
you're gonna, yeah,
Rustled Pete for
yeah.
some reason reminds me of Homestar Runner.
Oh
Did you ever
man,
you ever watch Homestar Runner?
did I? Did I ever? I sent you that the
The
picture.
Rustled Jimmies.
Now I'm thinking of the painting in Strong Bad's closet where he just gets
Yeah,
what, the Ghiblies or
come on in
something.
here.
Gah. Yeah. Uh, Brief side tangent. Someone put a port of the old Trogdor Flash game on the Wii U homebrew store, and I downloaded it, and it's hilarious.
Oh,
Um,
that's awesome.
Anyways, Season, Letter to the Future, a narrative-focused game about a young woman unraveling a mystery before a terrible cataclysm. Um, X4 Foundations. Manage your own space empire, commanding fleets of ships and stations. Trade and mine in realistic simulated space sandbox game.
Oh, that
Halls of
sounds like my kind of thing.
Oh
I
yeah.
love that.
Halls of Torment Prelude, a free taste of a 90s style isometric rogue light RPG. If Diablo and Vampire Survivors got tossed into a blender, this is probably what would come out.
Cool.
Daydream Prologue, a horror infused puzzle platformer about a boy and his teddy bear trying to confront traumatic memories and fear. And finally, Rushaway, blistering 2.5D single player platformer. Help your little hero find the fastest way to the goal in a fractured world. So that is
Nice.
all the verified games this week.
So there's 9 new games this week.
9 new verified titles.
Yeah,
Yes. So
awesome.
uh devs are really taking to getting that green check mark, and while it is a flawed system, admittedly sometimes things can get a little funky, but it's always
Mhm.
great to see that green check mark happen, because uh then you just get some reassurance that we're continuing to get some support from devs.
Yeah, it's especially nice when the devs have like put in the work to get the game verified. Like it's one thing to have like, Valve come through and just kind of be like, "Oh, this game works, check." But it's another thing if the developers have put in the work, especially if a game was like playable before and the devs have like resubmitted and they're like, we think we have a verified game here. That's like especially cool to see.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. It's just good to see that when you've got other publishers and devs like EA that'll sometimes throw in their own launcher and it'll break everything and Valve has to come in and fix it. It's
yeah.
a bit what was it? I think it was Ubisoft that said because their launcher broke stuff and they said, it's not our responsibility to get our games working on your Steam Deck. That's Valve,
Mm,
which
right.
seems wrong. That seems like the wrong way to go about it. And that's not how you
Yeah.
get good customer satisfaction. Um, Also, they're just terrible. So,
Yeah. Ubisoft is terrible.
God,
I was especially upset because last night, as of recording last night, we did the Friday night game stream, and uh we were trying to play what was it, Burnout Paradise Remastered,
mhm.
which I have played on my Steam Deck. Like I
Oh yeah.
have played that before.
Mhm.
And but because EA released the new EA app, the workaround that I got to get the game working just didn't because the EA app updated, my workaround stopped working.
Oh yeah.
So I couldn't play the game on stream even though people were asking for us
I
to play it.
I think I still got Burnout Paradise Remastered working on my deck. I don't know if we went about different workarounds, but it was such a hassle to get
Yeah.
working in the first place. And it's just that I wanted the DLC and some cloud saves, which the Ultimate Box, for how great that is, doesn't have all
Hmm.
the DLC, I don't think, which is
I don't think
super
so.
frustrating when you put Ultimate in the title.
Hmm.
By definition, that's not Ultimate,
Well, they got to figure out a way to nickel and dime you once you buy
right?
the ultimate box, right? Come on.
Introducing Burnout Paradise Remastered Ultimate Mega Edition. Thanks.
This one
Thanks.
features updated textures by like 14 pixels.
EA, it's in the money.
Yep.
Speaking of playing games, hey Gardner, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I have been playing Spelunky. Spelunky is literally my favorite game ever made, probably. And I've put I've doubled the time that I've spent in Spelunky since I got my Steam Deck. I think I've got like it is by far my most played game on Steam, and I only have 80 hours in the game.
I can believe it. I would do research at night for articles and I'd see a little pop up saying Gardner is playing Spelunky. I'm like, okay. All right. So
Yeah.
what's his favorite game? Got it.
There's something about Spelunky that it's just got that perfect feedback loop of like killing you unfairly, but like in a way that makes me laugh enough that it mitigates my frustration. And I don't know, I truly love that feedback loop in the game.
I
Yeah.
I personally
um
haven't played enough Spelunky, so I'll probably install it in my deck and give it a shot.
mm. Yeah,
Uh,
I mean it's basically a roguelite, side scroller platformer type deal. If you like those kind of games, the one critique that I have of the game is that the it doesn't have enough of like the permanent upgrade system to like supplement like the constant resetting from level one.
Right. I'm
um
My issue is that I'm just bad at games. So when it's an actual
Me too.
roguelike, it's like, okay, so I am not going to advance that far in this game and I've got my backlog continuing to grow. So I'll just head over to Devil May Cry 5 for a bit.
Hmm.
So I do a lot of rogue lights instead.
Yeah. What have you been playing?
Well, speaking of roguelites, I've been playing so much Vampire Survivors. It's my game that I'll turn on at any moment where I just have 30 minutes and I need to divide my attention in half because that's apparently what I do now. And it's just such a wonderful music's great. It's simple and mindless, but at the same time you can focus on uh what builds you're going to use to help get you through. Apparently you I again am not great at games. I have not beaten death yet. I know there's whole like run throughs of optimized builds to beat death and do all these things. I just open up the game and I go into the unlocks and I check what on that checklist I need to do, and I'll say, all right, cool. In this 30-minute run, I'm going to get this guy up to level 50. I'm going to find the coffin here. I'm going to kill X number of things, and then that's going to be my 30 minutes, and I'm done. So I
Mm.
really like that's probably the most rewarding. And I know that I've pretty much got that hard cap of 30 minutes because I'm not truthfully trying to kill death yet. Because again, I'm not great at games. Um, but when I'm not sucked into Vampire Survivors, I recently picked up the Metroid Prime Remastered and didn't even try booting it on my Switch. I immediately put it over onto my Steam Deck and tried that out, and was very surprised to see how well it performed. And I don't, because I haven't played it on the Switch at all. I don't know if the modern controls actually has gyro aiming as well. But on the Steam Deck, I enable gyro aiming with modern controls, and it just feels wonderful. It feels
Mm.
fantastic. But I also did some A/B testing. So I only played through the first initial part where you find Metal Ridley and Samus loses all her stuff and whatnot and gets to the forest planet. I
Mhm.
played that one both on the remaster and then the Prime trilogy back to back to see how much of a difference it is, because I was in the opinion of, oh, you could probably get the same sort of deal if you do some like reshades or HD textures and the Prime trilogy, Prime hack. No, it looks significantly better on the remaster. Like it's not a simple we've wallpapered over with some better textures and added just a little bit more lighting. They have gone through and redesigned models and whatnot. It looks fantastic and aged well. If you have the Prime Hack trilogy for deck, would I recommend it? I'm not entirely sure because you've got all three games there. That's more up to you. If you don't have the Metroid Prime trilogy and you're looking to play that on the Steam Deck or some way, um, getting the Metroid Prime trilogy for Wii is exceedingly expensive right now. I think it's like 140, which if we go by the logic of Nintendo releasing these Metroid remaster games for $40 a pop, you're gonna end up spending pretty much the same amount of money on the Wii U copy of the Metroid Prime trilogy, or waiting and playing these games as they release for Switch. So
Mm.
it's really kind of up to you of if you want to play now or prefer one over the other. I would just say if you're first getting into this, get the Prime remaster. I think it's a worthwhile uh, remaster. I think it's done really well. It looks great. Um, and other Nintendo games I put on my deck. Me and my partner were playing Breath of the Wild at the same time, which I played it originally on the Switch, like everyone else did. Normally, when it came out, great and all. I put it on my Steam Deck, and I've managed to cap that around 40 FPS, and that has made a world of difference.
Mm.
It feels like a new game when you play at a higher frame rate. Not only that, but I've been streaming it to my TV using Sunshine from my desktop, and that's playing at 60.
Mm.
So, and we'll swap. So my partner will play on the TV with the Switch every so often, and then I'll swap to the TV. And just doing that A/B as well is incredible. Like it truly does seem like a different game when you see where the Switch stutters and the graphics on that. Not to say that it doesn't look good or it's a bad game in any sense. It's just you definitely see the areas where they were struggling a little bit with the hardware. So I'm very
Mm.
interested to see how Tears of the Kingdom plays out on not only the Steam or the Switch, but also in the emulation scene, because we've all relied on the Wii U version of Breath of the Wild to emulate, and I'm not sure how
Yeah.
well the Switch version is going to work on the Steam Deck.
Yeah. Are you emulating the Wii U version?
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
Yeah.
I picked that up well after I beat it on Switch, just so I could try it at 60 and do the other expansion like mod DLC stuff.
Yeah. Dang. I have been emulating uh Xbox games the last week or so. Made a video about that on the channel. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it. It is like not it's not getting the views I expected it would get.
It
I think it has like 3,000 views, and at this point for a normal video of mine it would have like 10,000.
oh,
So
I don't
uh
know. The
yeah.
Xbox doesn't get enough love.
It
Whenever I'm
doesn't. It's criminally underappreciated.
Well, not only that, but it's like undervalued. I'll go through retro collecting and I'll get to the Xbox section and everything's about $10, $20 cheaper than anything on PlayStation. I'm like, "You-
Yeah.
all these are great games and there's not too much of a difference between the consoles or at
Mhm.
least the console versions, but there's such a price difference. Except for the ones that are backwards compatible with Xbox One series, whatnot. Um,
Mhm.
but while you don't have the brand like the franchises of Nintendo or Sony, uh you've got Phantom Dust, which is one that I picked up a while ago. We got Time Splitters, also amazing. Uh
Mhm.
and strangely enough, there is a Xbox exclusive Buffy game, which I had to pick up because my partner loves Buffy.
Mm. Buffy is a good show.
Oh yeah.
It's been a minute since I've seen it.
Yeah, there's usually a yearly rewatch in this household for Buffy.
Nice. Wasn't
Uh,
there like a an Alias video game as well? Did you ever watch Alias?
I did not, but I believe you're right. I think there was an Alias game. I'm not remembering offhand. I'm also thinking of X Files, and I think that got a video game as well.
Mm.
Um, yeah, there's some weird tie-ins. Um, all I know is I picked up Enter the Matrix, and then my friend immediately was like, "Oh, you gotta get Path of Neo." So I
Mm.
had to get Path of Neo, and those are both on my deck. Well, no, Path of Neo's on my deck.
Okay. The one that I am thinking, the weird tie-in now that I'm thinking of is Charlie's Angels on the GameCube.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It had kind of a cartoony art style, I think, if I'm
Yeah,
remembering correctly. That was an odd one. The GameCube had some strange tie-ins at times.
it
But
did.
banger of a library. That's why
Yes.
it's so insanely expensive. So I stopped collecting for GameCube because wow. Uh,
I definitely need more GameCube games. I've only got a handful of the classics, so I need more.
well, when they somehow like collapse in value, which I don't see happening anytime soon, that'll be the time to pick them up because
Yeah.
ooh, they're like at least $40 to $60 a piece compared to PS2, which I think you can get for 20, 15, whatnot, whatever.
Yeah.
So, since we just talked about Xbox in your recent video, why don't we go through the recent news?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into the news.
Get into the news. All right. So, where are we at? Let's start with the Steam Deck sale.
Yes, the Steam Deck was on sale. It was 10% off for each model.
Yeah.
Um
Doesn't sound
and
like it.
I
Go ahead.
huh?
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say like I think the sale is over at this point. It ended on the 23rd, right?
Yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, you missed the spring sale, which had a lot of good deals. But we posted a while back on ViewSync the schedule for the Steam sale, so you can figure out when you're going to pick up your next game that way. Uh,
Mm.
Plugging the website. But yeah, it was very interesting to see the Steam Deck headline the sale with 10% off, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but that turns into what? 50
$40.
$40. $40 for the base deck.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, that's not too bad. What's
That's
interesting?
that I mean I'd say that's a good deal. I mean,
Oh
you
yeah,
get the I think it was price comparable if not at parity with the OLED Switch, right? At that point with 40% off or
I
10%
think it
off?
was maybe $10 more, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's on top of it already being a fantastic deal for getting into PC games because there's,
Yeah.
again, pretty much nothing that hits that $400 price point. What I found interesting is that they did it at all because for how many weeks we've seen the Steam Deck in the top sellers, it
Yeah.
it's been, and that's top sellers in terms of revenue, correct?
Right.
So,
Yes.
so it's got an
My
advantage. Go ahead.
well, my question is like, because it's been in the top sellers, did they do it to just to celebrate the Steam Deck's 1 year anniversary? Uh, and if they did it to celebrate that, will we see a similar discount going forward in like the summer sale and the fall and the winter sale? I wouldn't be surprised to see a 10% discount during the winter sale, but I would be surprised to see it discounted in the next two like seasonal sales.
Yeah, I think they'll do it for a holiday season. They might be doing some kind of percentage off there. And then once we get into the second year of the Steam Deck, I don't know, are they going to take 20% off? Probably not, but that'll be interesting to see. What I found more interesting was in contrast, because we know this has been selling well, at least for Valve in the context of what this device is. It's sold, we can assume, at least 1 million devices, if not more.
Yeah,
Um,
they've actually confirmed 1 million, but they
right,
haven't confirmed more than that.
right. It's hard to get a read, but if we rewind a while back, uh, the 3DS, the DS pretty much printed money for Nintendo. The 3DS, while successful to a certain extent, it was not, at least initially. So in the first year, I think it was priced $250, and the sales of that was so bad that Nintendo had to go back and cut the price to 170, 180,
Mm,
um, only a year into its life, and then gave early adopters the ambassador program with some Game Boy Advance games that you then couldn't buy any other way. Just they were there. You could have them, but you can't because we're Nintendo.
yeah.
Um, but my point being is that you don't really see these kind of price discounts in something at like priced so painfully as the Steam Deck and doing so well. I don't think we saw any price reduction for Switch, PS5, Xbox Series within a year of their release, right? We've seen some bundles.
Right. Yeah,
Uh,
I can't recall a first party platform holder providing a even a 10% discount like this.
right,
But I mean, it goes to show you like that Valve, you know, it's Valve's not immune to their seasonal sales, right? Like even with their hardware. I don't have we ever seen like the index go on sale like this? I think we might have, but I can't say for certain.
I don't remember. Um, I I mean, also the Index did not sell as well as obviously the Steam Deck, but it I think it did sell decently, successfully for a VR headset at least.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean I have one and I really
yeah,
like it, but the problem is I don't play VR games that much, even though I have $1,000 headset.
right.
I bought this thing specifically because Half-Life Alyx was coming out, and I have played maybe a handful of other VR games since then.
Oh yeah,
And it's like, you know, the thing is, it's like if Valve has, I'm pretty sure I've seen it on sale, if I'm being honest. But it's like it shows you that Valve doesn't just do the seasonal sales. I've heard a lot of people say that, oh, the seasonal sales like really devalue video games, where it doesn't though. I mean, what it's like meant to like increase sales, right, for everybody on the platform, and at this point it seems including Valve,
right.
um
It's sort of that low price to get you in, and then get familiar with the game and also the developer, so that hopefully in the future when they've got an upcoming release, you'll wish list it or pick it up for maybe the full price, if not just a little bit off. I think it's a smart way to go about it, especially when you have no option of used games in this space.
Exactly. Yep. And it's really cool. I'm really excited to see like what this month's numbers look like in the hardware survey.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
will we see a dramatic bump in the number of uh APUs, like the custom APUs that are part of the sale or part of the hardware survey? Because if that's the case, I think that, if Valve sells like a good number that has a visible bump over last month
Mhm.
in the hardware survey, Valve will probably put it on sale in every seasonal sale.
Oh yeah,
Um,
probably. Speaking of a sale, hey Gardner, did you pick up anything in the Steam sale?
yes, I did. I picked up the Strong Bad's Cool Game for Attractive People.
Oh
I
wow,
picked up the
flashback.
whole bundle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much did that cost?
Oh man, I think I got all of the episodes for like $5.
Jeez. I played it.
Yeah.
Me and my brother played it way back when it was on the Wii, when it was downloadable through the Wii shop, uh,
Hmm.
which is just crazy to think of. But yeah, no, that was a time.
Yeah.
It was even great.
I
Go ahead.
I can see where the game originated from the eShop. Like it's an early Telltale game, right?
Mhm.
So they definitely, I can see that being the case. I also bought Doom 3, like the Doom 3 package. It came with the BFG edition
Nice.
and the other one. And I'm gonna start playing through those uh using Lux Trapetta.
Oh,
So
cool.
being able to, because it you can get Doom 3 DHEWM3, which is like an open source engine for it. So it
Ah,
runs natively. But then there's also a BFG open source thing that you can get. And it's pretty cool. I
sweet.
gotta say, I'm a big Doom fan. I like the Doom
Oh
games.
yeah, yeah. That's just combat always feels fantastic in
Yeah.
those.
Did you pick up any games during the sale?
So I picked up. What did I pick up? I picked up soundtracks actually, because there weren't a ton of games that I was really interested in, but I've been really getting into my Plex library a bit more. So
Hmm.
my cat is currently wandering around. Yeah, no, I did pick up the Vampire Survivors DLC bundled with the soundtrack, and that is great. That I've been listening to
Mm.
that quite a bit. I also grabbed the Hollow Knight and the Hollow Knight soundtrack along with its I guess its expansion. I forgot what it's called, unfortunately. Um, yeah, that's I picked up both of those, and threw those on Plex along with Banner Saga. Actually, I think I did. Um, but while the Steam sale might be over, GOG is having their sale that runs into April 3rd. So I went on to GOG and I actually picked up at least two games.
Mm.
Stranglehold, which let's see if I can get it out. Probably not. Is it? Oh no, wait, wrong shelf. I a while back picked up Stranglehold for the PS3 collector's edition, which apparently comes with the movie Hard Boiled baked onto the PS3 disc, which is kind of funny. Um, but I didn't want to bother trying to emulate on the deck, so I just picked it up for $3, and we're gonna see how well that runs. Along with Silent Hill for the Room. I have not played through Silent Hill 2. I do have it. That's kind of on the backlog. I do not have Silent Hill 3. That one is harder to get a hold of. But The Room also looks like an interesting one. I've at least seen interesting things. So I'm excited to go through 2 and then 4.
So this is the video version if you're watching this on YouTube, and it's available for everybody. But if you want the audio podcast, you can head over to ViewSync. It's exclusive to ViewSync premium subscribers. So if you're a ViewSync premium subscriber, if you're a patron, if you're a YouTube member, you can get access to the audio version of the podcast here. Right now, ViewSync Premium is on sale for 20% off, so you can use the link in the description of this video to save 20% off the first 3 months of your ViewSync Premium subscription. If you're a patron or a YouTube member, you can get complimentary access to ViewSync, but you're gonna have to email me because I don't have an automated process yet for that. So just send me an email, Gardiner@heavyelement.io, with your YouTube or your Patreon information, and I'll get you in as a ViewSync member. Nice. If you are a fan of classic Maxis games on GOG, I would recommend picking up SimCity 3000 Unlimited.
Nice.
I have a copy of that, and I absolutely love SimCity, so highly recommend that game.
Awesome. Let's see. Well, that kind of brings us into the next topic. If I had spaced out the 3DS mention at the end. 3DS and Wii U eShops are closing on the 27th this month.
Yeah.
And that's a real I don't know how we agreed on language, because there's some strong words I'd like to say about the situation, but I don't know if that's appropriate for this podcast.
You can say whatever you want.
Okay, it makes me really goddamn angry at Nintendo because what's funny to me is
I love how goddamn is like the worst thing you can say.
I was gonna get worse. And I will at some point. I curse like a sailor. Anyways, no. Nintendo like preemptively addressed the whole backlash of closing the eShops on this Q&A they did a while back, which they since removed the question, but there was some question uh, that went like, doesn't Nintendo have a moral obligation to preserve these games? And Nintendo answered that. So like they are aware that they should be preserving these games, but they're just not.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of digital only games that are going to vanish when the eShop closes. Like uh, Rusty's Real Deal Baseball. That's a very
Mm-hmm.
interesting free to play game with DLC where you literally haggle uh, the rest of the games.
Have
Um,
you seen the Nick Robinson Rusty's Real Deal Baseball video
I
on
have not.
YouTube? Oh, I have.
Have I?
If you're a fan of that, check it out. It's really good.
Yeah, I need. I'll have to look that one up. Affordable Space Adventures. That's one on the Wii U that gets a lot of love because of how it uses the gamepad to control a lot of systems on there. Um, that's gonna just vanish into nothing because these consoles, uh, unlike the Switch or Xbox or anything where it's pretty straightforward of screen controller, you're good. They're dual screen experiences, and some games just, even if you can emulate, play way better on say the DS. Um, so unless you have the actual hardware, you're going to run into issues where trying to emulate down the line isn't going to work as well.
Mm.
Um, and so it's really frustrating to see. And while the shop is going to close, you can't buy anything. It's already a hassle to try to buy things now. You are going to be able to still download games that you have previously purchased for the time being now. That's the trick
Mm.
because we had this issue a while back where the Wii and DSi shops just were down for a period of time. Um, and you haven't been able to buy off those for a very long time. But in order to say your Wii broke or something and you wanted to get your games back downloaded, if you had bought or tried to download those games within this 4-month window, uh, you couldn't because it was just down. It was down for 4 months. Nintendo basically said nothing. And it makes me wonder, are we going to get that to that certain point after, I don't know, 3-5 years of the closure of the eShops? Which is really frustrating because the 3DS is perfect for owning the Pokemon games. Like it has a lot on the virtual console. They're pretty affordable, and you buy it and you actually own it, opposed to Nintendo Online's subscription service where you have to pay yearly for games you will never really own.
Hmm.
And hopefully they emulate well and they eventually add games that you want, which is incredibly slow. I know my friend had been waiting for Banjo Kazooie to show up on the Switch for the entire life of the Switch.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
it's frustrating.
yeah. I have a lot to say about this, but I'll keep it brief. Uh, there's a reason that homebrew exists. There's a reason that, being able to jailbreak your Nintendo consoles exists, and it's because of this eventuality. I mean, everybody knew this was coming. Um, and at a certain point, when these go off, when these are no longer available for sale or even download for the ones that you've legitimately purchased, guess what? Nintendo doesn't have a leg to stand on. Part of me feels like the reason they are doing this is because they want to push people to Nintendo Switch Online. The other part of me thinks that they're doing this because they want a reason to sue people.
Well,
Because that's just Nintendo. Like, they have a
right.
reputation of being like litigious jerks.
Oh, Steam Grid DB, you've got some pictures of Mario up there? No, you don't. Don't you be putting our Mario boy up there.
Yeah,
Like
you
how
can't share box art on the internet. What are you talking about?
like even if you make the box art yourself, if it's an
Yeah,
artistic render that you've made, I think Nintendo has also DMCA'd some of that. I think some of it survived, but like really?
yeah,
But you're not going to acknowledge that competition exists, but you will go and acknowledge that this website for downloading your game box arts to the Steam Deck does. Okay. All right. However you want to play, my guy.
yeah.
Um,
Nintendo's the worst. It's why I don't support. I don't. I have an extensive Nintendo Switch collection.
hmm.
We have two Switches in the house. We have, I would say, probably 25 or 30 Nintendo Switch games on cartridge, and then many more downloaded.
Mhm.
And um, I think it was that, like, I don't remember what it was that was the last straw. It was one of the ridiculous things that they've been doing recently, but it was probably the Steam Grid DB attack. And I was like, I'm completely done with Nintendo.
I
Like, shout out to Mark over at Linux Gaming Central. He kept asking me if I had played Metroid Prime, and I was like, I have not.
oh
And
yeah,
he bought me it on the eShop, and I was like, oh, I did not expect you to do that. So I'm actually gonna get to play it now.
nice. I was kind of in the same boat where I was trying to figure out if I was not gonna just buy Nintendo games really anymore and just pick them up used. Um, I already do that for a lot of publishers. Um,
Yeah,
and then the Metroid Prime remaster got announced physically, and I was like, I cannot control myself because I was debating like, am I gonna do this for Tears of the Kingdom? I am a weak, soft baby man. I can't. I'm not gonna have the constitution to ignore that when everyone else is enjoying Tears of the Kingdom, and we all know it's gonna leak a week early, and then I'm gonna have to
yeah,
avoid spoilers. It's a little
yeah,
easier when I don't have social media, so I'll just turn off my Mastodon for a little bit.
yeah. I think Weak Soft Baby Man should be the name of this this episode.
Yeah, weak, soft baby man. My
Yeah,
nickname in high school.
nice.
Um,
Uh,
So, last thing I will say, if you are looking to buy like ads funds through your Steam or your Switch to then buy games on the eShop, Capcom is having a fire sale on basically all their games. There's a lot of different sales going on, and if you've ever had a weird curiosity with Devil's Third, a game that will never come to anything else ever, that is the only affordable way to buy it because physically it costs about 100 or more dollars. It's not a good
wow.
game, but it only will exist on the Wii U. I promise you that.
Mm, damn. Yeah,
Yeah.
check that out. Speaking of things that you can buy with ephemeral points that don't make any sense, Valve has released purchasable boot videos that you can get with your reward points or whatever they're calling them.
Finally, I can spend some of my hundreds of thousands of points I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with.
Same. I have many points. I'm gonna look at how many points I have.
I don't need to look at that number. I know it's too much. But all those boot videos are about 3,000 each. And I don't know the conversion of how many points you get when buying a game. Um, but you,
Yeah, I think it's like 100 to 1 or something like that.
I don't want to know that that's the conversion because I have a very large number of points. Um, but yeah, and these boot videos look pretty good. You've always been able to, well, more you've been able to do it with Decky Loader to install your own custom boot videos. You might have heard that because someone famously added the entire Shrek movie as a boot video and then posted, "Help! I can't stop watching Shrek." Um, so, uh, good job, my guy. You found a way
Oh
around
yeah.
the whole limitation of the duration. Buckle in. Uh, but now, if you press B, you will skip through the video. Valve had
Yeah.
to add that specifically
That
because of
is so
this.
funny.
It's great. But yeah, no,
Uh,
you've had some great options that way. I think Valve before this added a way for you to add boot video files into the file system to then pick that way. I could be wrong. But now this is a very easy official way to add boot videos through the menu, going through the store, and a lot of them look great.
mhm. I'm a huge fan of these. But you can't beat like first party uh boot intros. Like, I mean, I think I've done at least two videos where I go and like cringe at like the weird like community made videos over on
Yeah.
the what's that website?
It's
Deck Brew or no?
oh wow, I can't remember offhand. I just get it
I
through the
can't
Decky
remember.
launcher.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I just know like everyone likes adding Seinfeld as a boot intro, and I'm not fully sure why.
I don't get it either. I love Seinfeld. I don't
Right.
get it.
Just random intros of Breaking Bad, um,
Hmm.
other it's cool. Um, I don't know if I need that every time I boot up the video. What I did end up buying was what was it called? It was like the old retro one. If you know what I'm talking about, it was Decky or
Yeah.
Deck
Was it Deck Special?
Deck Special. That's right. Yeah. Oh, that one looks great. It just reminds me of an old intro to a movie or something.
Yeah. I like that one. I bought the Rainbow Dip one, which has like the all the colors swirling to start. And then I bought the let's see, what else I bought the robot one, which reminded me of like an old Nickelodeon cartoon. And I bought the OG big picture
You gotta.
background.
You
Yeah.
gotta.
Dude, that's like I when it first came out, I really liked big picture mode.
Mhm.
And then really quickly it started getting long in the tooth and I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, I can't use this anymore.
Right. And then
But
when we saw the new interface, every time I saw the boot video, I just thought, I please stop. I don't want to see this again. And then you just add it to the Steam Deck, and I'm immediately purchasing this.
yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
explain it.
I was gonna say the one thing that I like, still to this day like about OG Big Picture is that intro. Like, it's
Yeah.
just got like a quality to it that I can't uh, quantify. I think it's partly the fact that it's so detailed.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just like it.
Just makes me think of the history of like Steam machines and Steam controller, which is somewhere up there. There we go, up there.
Oh, Steam controller, rest in peace.
Rip. Hope we'll get a second one at some point. Um, but it's full of history. I love just looking at it on the Steam Deck and thinking how far we've come, and then remembering how much I did not like Big Picture on my PC when I saw the new interface. Although apparently, like some of the Steam input settings are a little bit better on the old Big Picture mode. I'm not entirely sure. I need to go through and test all these things, but
Yeah.
um,
I've heard some like real like hardcore Steam input guys have said that that's the case. But I think the new big picture modes in Steam input is way more approachable, and knowing Valve and seeing the updates that they've released for the Steam Deck that also includes Steam input options, like input upgrades, we're going to see more um more options coming, and it'll eventually reach parity with the original Steam input dialog.
right. And while I appreciate the old interface and that old input, menu configuration, it definitely was overwhelming to be go into it and immediately see so many dials and settings you can turn and adjust. Whereas this
Yeah.
new menu where you get uh page separated by each button, like trackpads, buttons, very easy to read. It's spaced out well enough that it doesn't overwhelm your senses immediately.
Yeah.
So I think that will help people experiment with the input, even just like the community made inputs and layouts that people will try and then try experimenting with. So I hope that's going to open the door to more unique control options.
Yeah. And just to circle back, I have 144,000 points.
You'll never be rid of them.
No,
You're going to have to write it in your will who it goes to.
I bequeath my worthless Steam reward points to Jackson.
Oh boy. Oh man, you shouldn't have. No, really, you really shouldn't have. Speaking of
Now, guys,
Decky,
if I end up like mysteriously dying, we know who to blame.
oh yeah, I'll drive the however many hours to do some investigation, discovery, mystery, murder. Um,
I'm saying if I died mysteriously, you killed me for my points. That's what I'm saying.
that'd be a really terrible reason. Like, couldn't even be real life insurance. Man, lamest crime. Speaking of Decky Loader, the Decky Recorder adds the ability to save the last 30 seconds with a key combination, which I found really cool because while we have the ability to screenshot with a hotkey, there there's no native way to save an instant replay. And what we've
Yeah.
seen with these recent consoles is a heavy focus on sharing and streaming. Ever since Twitch, sharing your gameplay and other things with people has been huge. Um, I have not personally done it a whole lot because I don't play games online, uh, and no one likes the games I like typically amongst my friends. So I don't have a reason to share my gameplay with them too much. Uh, but it's nice to see that we are getting these features even through third party to closer match what the console experience is that other people might be coming from.
Yeah. Do you think there's any other features that Steam needs to implement to match modern consoles?
I I would like to see I think Valve is getting better about improving the social interface on deck because we've seen some updates that have adjusted like invites being not having to open up the chat interface but being a different setting or in the quick access menu. I would just like to see um an, the community spaces rejuvenated of a new look, new layouts or so. Um, just to more in line match what we've seen because I don't think we've seen any changes on the community front in terms of uh like groups pages for several years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a minute. I would like to see built-in video capture in game mode, which
Absolutely.
you could share through your um what you call it, through your media tab on your Steam Deck, and then also being able to uh stream from, because Valve already has like their in-house live streaming thing, and you can, and you know that it's there's like some kind of built-in video capture thing because you can play, play with your friends, or
Right.
what is it, remote play with your friends.
Remote
Um,
play together, I believe.
yeah, remote play together. And so there is that element of it. It's just a matter of being able to, having the UI in place for the Valve to allow you to do that on the Steam Deck. Um, just being able, like, for example, like, if I'm in a game or if I'm working on a video, it's really easy for me to just do a quick screen cap, right? Just a screenshot or whatever. And then getting it off the deck is a little bit of a chore. You have to like upload it to the cloud and then download it. But
If
it
you
would be really great. Huh?
Right. If you wanted to do all local of just grabbing the screenshot, you have to figure out where Steam saves it, boot into desktop mode, navigate to that hidden folder in .steam or something, find the weird number combination it says for UI for saving, and find it that way. So yeah, it
Yeah.
needs, because sharing, I think this is what the console manufacturers figured out, is that sharing drives sales and engagement massively. So if Valve puts more emphasis on the ability to quickly and easily share out your experiences with the Steam Deck, that's going to help push sales. And it's really going to help emphasize all the cool things you can do with the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of like other things. I mean, because they have their broadcast thing. And so if you had the ability to broadcast from the deck, that would be pretty sick.
I have an idea of this is what I wanted to write about later on in the future, but basically I really want a download play for the Steam
Yeah.
Deck or game sharing. Whereas back
Yeah.
in the day with the DS and PSP, there was an awesome feature called download play for the DS, game sharing for the PSP, where only one person needed to have a copy of a game. They would then launch a lobby. However many players would then launch download play and search for said lobby. They'd connect, and then the game would be sent out in a limited fashion to those players. And they'd all be able to play this game. They could all play Mario Kart with one copy amongst
Mhm.
four, I'm going to say four people. I don't know how many players it was. Or with the PSP, you could do that with some demos as well. I tested with my Vita and PSP of launching Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection in the game sharing mode, and it worked flawlessly.
Mhm.
And someone might argue, oh, you can just connect to Wi Fi and do a LAN party that way. You could, sure, but it, the whole point of the deck is to play your games. You and your games are going places. And
Yeah.
while we have hotspots and 5G and all these things, I don't want to have to rely on that in order to just play a game with a friend who happens to have a Steam Deck. When the Steam Deck has so many different wireless communication methods,
Yeah.
um, it I feel like it should be a fairly easy process of creating a small Wi-Fi network, connecting the decks together, and then playing um, Tekken 7 or Monster Hunter World, for example. That was huge in Japan for the PSP, was Monster Hunter Unite. And
Mhm.
I'd love to see that in the States with Monster Hunter World and Rise with the Steam Deck. Like, I think that would be huge to see some of these games played like that.
I couldn't agree more. I think the Steam Deck needs a feature like that. Because I've talked about that on my channel before a couple times, and for some reason, people in the comments, like not everybody, but like I get at least one or two comments that are like, "Why would you want that? We already have remote play together. You don't need this other stuff." And it's like, you absolutely do. And
Right.
people are like, it would take too much time for developers and whatever. No, no, it's easy, right? I mean, it's not easy, but it's like if Valve made an API for it, it would be relatively trivial.
Right.
Um, for like the thing is, it's like remote play together is good for like a single screen multiplayer game or a split screen multiplayer game.
Right.
But what if you're playing like a game like Mario Kart and you want everyone to have their own screen? You need to have some kind of download play functionality. Download play would basically mean that, you know, the game, whatever assets are needed for the current match that's being played would be downloaded by everybody who's connecting to the host's game. And so and they would be temporary. You wouldn't be able to like pirate the game or preserve those files. Like they would be deleted. Steam would take care of all of that. um but yeah, I mean, the question that I have about all of this is, do you think Valve would create a a thing like this, like download play, that is really only relevant to the Steam Deck?
I don't see it happening anytime soon, which is kind of sad because, as you've mentioned, it could be an API. Not only that, but if you give the ability to broadcast this game and each player has a separate screen, you then open the door for asymmetric multiplayer, which
Yeah.
is, again,
Yep.
bring it back to the Wii U, good console that died. You had Nintendo Land where players would play one, like, their version of the game on the TV, and then you'd have one player with the gamepad screen, and that would be very different on how that functioned. If you had the ability to say the host has one specific screen, broadcasts out this smaller session game to all the other players, you could then do these asymmetric multiplayer games of. I mean, the one I'm thinking offhand is Evolve, but that did not age well. Um, but you could have ones that would require a whole different UI or control scheme that other players, if they saw, would ruin the game. Um,
Mhm.
and if we just had the API and had a couple test games, like this is what we can do with it, I think developers might, like, at least some indies would start toying around with it because
Yeah.
I think we've seen some asymmetric multiplayer games, and some of that has I take it for example. Here's a better one: Dead by Daylight, huge, huge. And you have one player who's the killer, and the other players have to survive. That could have a whole different view. Well, it has a different view. The killer has first person. The other players have third person.
Mhm.
There could be.
You know what was a really interesting asymmetric gameplay from my childhood
Yeah.
was was it Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow?
Mm,
The multiplayer in Splinter Cell where it was mercenaries versus spies. And
yeah.
so the mercenaries were first person and they had guns and they had like heat vision and stuff. And then the spies were third person and they controlled like Sam Fisher. And it was, and then, but there was also like things that the spies could do to work together that the mercenaries couldn't do. And it was so much fun.
Oh yeah.
I, I loved those games. Oh,
And
so it would be really cool to have that kind of stuff in download play form.
right, and I'm just gonna say it right now. Hot take: local multiplayer, being in a room with other people, is way better than online multiplayer. I'm
Could
sorry,
not agree more.
right? If I can get into a room with my friends who have Steam Decks and we can do like some crazy Battlefield or whatever kind of multiplayer, I'm gonna have far more laughs and goofs with people in the room than I am staring at my screen with a headset on.
Yeah.
I would rather be able to hear everyone around me, be more connected. And I'm not a social guy. I famously hate people. I have a lot of social anxieties, but Smash Brothers in person is the way to go.
Can't beat it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the experience that you want. Being able to like get knocked off the map and then punch your friend in the arm for killing you. That's
Oh,
that's how
man.
it goes in my house.
All the classics. Um, All right. So, what does that take us to? Oh, speaking of classics, EA,
Wow.
y'all a bunch of dicks because they're delisting Battlefield 1943, Bad Company 1 and 2 in April 28th and killing the servers on December 8th. Um, Originally, this announcement included Mirror's Edge, which was
Mm,
weird because I pretty sure that was single player only. And to kill
yeah.
off a single player game seems horrible. Both of it's horrible. But yeah, they have since redacted that that. So it's only the Battlefield games. Um,
Mhm.
which to me, this hurts because Battlefield Bad Company 2 was, I loved that game on Xbox 360. That was, I didn't enjoy Call of Duty Online that much, but when I picked up that game, I played a fair bit, and I was a Halo guy mostly. So
Mhm.
finding a military shooter that I really enjoyed was a breath of fresh air. Um, and I don't know the server situation for, in terms of like custom servers or community servers. So
Mhm.
I don't know what happens when the servers go offline, truthfully.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, are there any like dedicated servers that are available for the community to be able to pick up the slack?
I was searching last night because we had an article earlier about the Unreal Tournament games being delisted unceremoniously by
Mm.
Epic. And I think without warning, I think they pretty much immediately took them off Steam, and then GOG had one day where you could have bought them and then
Yeah.
vanished. But that notably does have community servers where it had those games used a master server it would connect to. That's being shut down, but the community has managed to make a custom master server to save the whole Unreal community for Unreal Tournament 2004, um, Unreal Tournament
99.
99, and then there was the unreleased 4, I believe, which you can still download. That's the only game
Yeah.
that you can actually easily legally acquire. So I pointed that out in the article. I don't know why I'm pointing. There's nothing here. I pointed that out in the article if you were interested to try to grab that before it randomly gets removed. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you wanted the Battlefield games, I would pick them up now before you can't get them because the Bad Company 1 and 2 campaigns are at least pretty good. Um, so I would grab those. And then if we see later down the line that there's some kind of community server and it's still alive in some capacity, you'll be kicking yourself if you don't have these games.
Were there ever physical PC releases for those titles?
Oh man. I mean, it came out around that time where you would be seeing a physical copy, but I don't remember offhand.
Yeah.
Um I-
It's interesting. I mean, the thing is, like, with the Unreal Tournament delisting, it's like I found it really interesting because from what I remember, Epic was actually like allowing, like, even sponsoring the community to like maintain updating at least UT99. And so it was super weird when they just delisted all of those games. But for this, I mean, this is like, this is everyday EA being evil stuff. Like I don't know.
it's
Epic has become evil. EA has kind of always been evil.
right. It's clear of, and when you're operating at such a scale, especially Epic when they've got Fortnite money, it
Yeah.
costs. I know there's a cost to maintenance for these old servers, and you've got to keep that old hardware going, but it's not much.
No, especially
It's
for like the master server. It's like very little.
right. So, or what costs less? Give us tools to open up the games for us to
Yeah.
play. Because I think what they're trying to do is kill off these old games that we prefer to play over the newer ones filled with microtransactions or missing content or bugs,
Yeah.
um, and push us towards those games because we don't have any other options. Whereas if you opened up these games, like I said in my article, just bare minimum, you let the game be free to download and say, all right, we're not doing anything else to support this game. Game's open to you. You want to play it, build your own servers. We don't care. We're not doing anything else.
Yeah.
Even to that extent, if you just let the community come up with some solutions, that's going to help build you another community that you could possibly market to. You can then build games and say, hey, you really enjoyed these games? We're making a new Bad Company game, and you get more sales that way. Like you otherwise you're just alienating older fans.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like it seems that's what they want to do is they want to push people towards, like you said, their new titles where they make a lot more money and you have to buy a season pass and you spend money on cosmetics that don't matter. And I don't know. It's really frustrating. Um, the thing that I've always the things that I've recently realized is that like we're in this cycle. Like the video game industry has a cycle, and it was, you know, it used to be that you would go to the arcade and you would play a game that was really hard and frustrating because it was addictive that way, and you would spend your, you know, you would do a microtransaction of a quarter at a time and you'd pop that into the machine. But then, you know, we got to the home consoles, and it carried over a lot of like the hard and frustrating mechanics of the arcade because that's how games were. But then it got to a point where, you know, free plays, you know, we got rid of like the lives systems, and we got rid of like the continues and all this stuff because it didn't matter. You bought the game, you own the game, you have the console. But then it comes back to, you know, the era of arcade where, you know, you're not in control of your machine because it's technically not yours anymore. It's connected to the internet. It's owned by the manufacturer, and the games running on it are have to do everything they can to exploit the quarters out of your pocket.
Right. And, you know, and how they do that is they stretch out how long it takes to progress in these games.
Yeah.
Famously, the Assassin's Creed games had XP boosts that you could buy for $10 or something, or it was pre-order for some weird edition because Ubisoft makes 10 million editions. But it was a permanent XP boost, and without it, the game was just a slog to play through.
Yeah.
And that's what you see with a lot of these Battlefield or Battlefront 2, the recent game that released. I say recent, I mean a couple of years ago. That was a whole like shit show of EA being greedy, and I think, you know, there were some reports of, in order to get your hero characters, it took so many hours to do it free. I think it took over 200 hours just to unlock Darth Vader or something.
Mm. Yeah.
And it's just so frustrating to see. And I think we're gonna get to a point where uh we had games like Splitgate that come out to a big success. I think we're gonna see other indies that just want to make a good game, that embrace the Steam Deck and other avenues like this, and they make just good games. And people are gonna see that these indie games are much more accessible and easy to get thanks to devices like the Steam Deck. And AAA developers are going to hit a slump and hopefully realize, oh, we've got to be a little bit more pro consumer. I'm hoping also they start scaling back some games, because there's
Yeah.
for Forsaken. The Forsaken budget was what, $100 million. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah, I think so.
it was something absurd, and I don't know about you, but I never saw that game going anywhere. Like, I didn't think that this was the game to make a big splash, even though it looked so pretty. Um, I Some of these budgets are just so outlandish because publishers want the next Call of Duty, and
Yeah.
they never provide wiggle room for games to just be games.
Yeah. Where is the Fox Searchlight of indie games? We need something like that. Like, I mean, Adult Swim games is kind of like that, and Devolver Digital is kind of like that. But
Well, I was going to say the Next Fest.
oh yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
Next
yep,
Fest pretty much serves that. And I wanted to see demo discs come back in some way, and that's pretty much covered it.
yeah,
So, you know, again, I'm really excited to see the Steam Deck get more popularity and more visibility, because when Valve is focusing on indies in this way, because there aren't Steam Deck exclusives, um, and I don't think there will ever be, for better or for worse. I think when they highlight the community this way, people are going to take note. They're going to take notice, and they're going to see, hey, these games aren't super expensive.
yeah, yep. And indies are the way to go in my opinion. I honestly I don't know the last time I've played like an actual AAA game. It might have been Spider-Man Remastered. Like I just besides that, I don't think I've played any others. I'm like I just don't have the time or the patience to play them.
Spider-Man Remastered. Spider-Man has been my game of the year for 3 years running. So good, so good.
Nice.
I love Spider-Man. All right. I think we should move on to just kind of the bits and bobs of the news left.
Yeah.
Valve announces new APU driver for Windows on the Steam Deck. A
Well,
Gardiner. Hot takes.
well, I'm glad they're still supporting Windows.
Someone's gotta.
Someone has to.
Uh,
I honestly like the drivers on Windows. I've seen a bunch of comments on my videos where it's like, why is Windows lagging behind? I actually, yes, the last news video I did, I talked about the driver update for SteamOS, and I had at least two comments that were like, is this also available for Windows? And it's like, no, it will not. Like, Windows will always significantly lag behind SteamOS, and there's a reason for that, and it's very simple. It's because Windows is not a supported platform on the Steam on it's not a supported operating system on the Steam Deck. Like, Valve is doing this out of the kindness of their heart, and it is an afterthought, and it is about time that a manufacturer says "f you" to Windows. Like, I mean, it's literally, this is as nice of a thing I've ever seen. Like, I just love the fact that Valve does not support Windows in any way. I mean, they just release drivers when they get around to it, and I love that.
I I am happy to see Valve say, "Hey, the Steam Deck is yours. You can do whatever you want with it. If you do install Windows, I guess we'll throw some stuff out for you." Like, that's good. I personally tried to put Windows 10 on an SD card just to throw Destiny on there and just see what happens. It was so terrible. It was so terrible just to try to use. And I got an A2 512 gigabyte SD card. Should have been fast enough. I don't know if it was something I did, but everything I was trying to do, loading Windows, installing anything, took so long. Um,
Yep.
just probably because the limitations of an SD card. And I eventually gave up and I reformatted it and just threw it back into my Steam Deck. It's
Yep.
and I when I try to think of the reasons to run Windows on the Steam Deck, it's such a hard thing to think about because all I think is, well, you could play Destiny
Yeah.
because
Yep.
Bungie
Well,
doesn't want to support the deck for some reason.
yeah, even though they have a Linux build of
They
Destiny
have a
that they,
Linux build. It
yeah,
it was on Stadia. On
yeah,
Stadia. Come on.
dude, it, the thing is, it's like, the reason that people want to put Windows on their Steam Deck is the same reason people want to, you know, upgrade their GPU every year. It's because they feel like it's going to give them the most options, right? It's like maximizing their the what they have available to them to play. And it's like, sure, but you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Windows on the Steam Deck. I see you have Devil's Advocate in for
Yeah,
Windex.
I put a question mark there of like, are we going to do this? Are we going to play Devil's Advocate?
Well, I
It
mean,
doesn't seem like
let's
it,
try to play Devil's Advocate, right? Like,
right?
um, so why would someone want to have Windows on their Steam Deck? The answer is Destiny, or I'm literally struggling to
Dead by
think why
Daylight
anyone. Dead
right
by
now,
Daylight.
but you can play that through like the Epic Game Store version or something. I don't know. That's eventually it's
Hmm.
planned or it's gonna get there. I know, but right now,
Right.
Dead by Daylight. If I wanted to play with my friends, I need a Windows to do it.
Yeah. Or people are scared of like using Lutris, or Heroic or whatever.
Or,
Uh,
here's the big one, Game Pass, native Game Pass. I'm not gonna
oh yeah.
lie, that's cool. I have the GPD Win Max too, and being able to load Hi-Fi Rush onto there, pretty awesome. Like, that's kind of
Yeah.
neat. But then I get into this same sort of so I had bought during Black Friday for $50 like 6 months of Game Pass. And then my brother gave me a year of Game Pass because he works at Microsoft. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, cool. I never need to buy this again. But you subscribe to Netflix and then You say, "Oh, I'm gonna get around to watching this show. I'm gonna get around to watching Voltron. Everyone's talking about it." But then you never do. You never get to these, and it's what 30 minutes, an hour to watch whatever you're going to do. These games, they come out. You get like the Kingdom Hearts games come to Game Pass, and you're going to find time to play that amongst all the other Game Pass games. Not that there's bad games or anything there, but you then create such a backlog for yourself on top of your Steam library backlog because we have all
Hmm.
got that.
Yeah.
So once I hit June or something, I might not renew my Game Pass subscription and just let that slide. Um, you know,
Yeah. Well, I was thinking the same thing. It's like, if I had Game Pass, I probably would try a couple games when I first got it, and then I would never use it again. Because for me, it's like I have a couple of games that I like to play, and that's it. Like I like to try new games, and if a developer will send me a game, then I'll try it typically. But it always is like I'm just like, "Ugh, I don't care for this. This is like either games have too many cutscenes or
yeah, you're
not
ranting
enough
about
like,
that last night.
oh my god, yeah. Well, the thing is with that, it's like it's just I want to play a game. I don't want to watch a movie. I don't want to watch a TV show. I don't want to be a passive observer. I just want to play a game. And so for me, it's like there are very few games that I actually want to play, or that I even have time to play. Like if I was an avid gamer and I played like 2 or 3 hours a day and I wanted variety, Game Pass might be an appealing deal to me. But
if you if you're on a
for the
budget,
rest of it,
absolutely.
yeah. But like the thing is, it's like if you're on a budget and you have like a monthly budget of like $7 a month, however much it costs, then if you're on a budget and all of a sudden you can't afford to pay for it anymore,
Mhm.
everything you spent is gone.
Mhm.
It's gone. And so you don't own anything, and you will be happy about it.
Right. It
Meanwhile, if I play a game, if I buy a game on Steam, I don't have to pay for it again, and I still have it next month.
right. The When I say it's
So
a
frustrating.
good deal, like I let's go ahead and address like it's digital. You probably don't own it. It's the
Right.
Steam subscriber agreement you click when you buy stuff. We
Yeah.
have it for right now. I have, and hopefully for a long time. I hope for the best. Game Pass, quite clearly, you don't own any of that. Any of it, you're renting it. Um, in terms of being able to play new releases, there is no better value if you hit FOMO so much, like you feel that and you want to be part of the conversation. That's probably the most affordable way to be able to play these. If you want to talk about Starfield, that's going to be the most affordable way to do it. Pick up an Xbox Series S and then Game Pass, and that's the cheapest way to go about it. Is it the best way? I personally don't know. I don't think so. I would prefer, assuming it runs on the Steam Deck, we'll see.
Mm,
I would rather buy that or the game I truly want at full price, play it on the Steam Deck, which again starts at 400, plus $20 to get a good amount of storage from an SD card. Um, and then my other games, I'm just going to pick up on sales because that's how I've been trained
mhm.
on PC for so long with Steam.
The here there's this is the thing that I feel like that this is the end game argument for Game Pass. It is unsustainable. Microsoft is losing money with Game Pass. Why are they doing that?
Well, it's going to be the
It,
Netflix route.
right, but Netflix is losing money.
Exactly.
Netflix has never been profitable. Disney Plus has never been profitable, and it's even more popular than that. These streaming services are moving back towards more of a cable like subscription or
Th-
model where
They're
you
notably
pay for it.
getting worse.
They are getting worse, and the problem is that's going to happen with Game Pass too. Right now, it's a great deal because they're not charging you what it should actually cost. They are subsidizing their losses so that they can convince you you shouldn't own anything. And once enough people, maybe Xbox fans, maybe people on PC, don't are accustomed to not owning anything, then they're going to start jacking the price up, and then they're going to start making it a profitable system where it'll cost $100 a month, because that's what it would cost for it to be profitable. You don't Microsoft doesn't put hundreds of millions of dollars into developing games just to release them for essentially nothing. They do it because they want to make money. And so I don't know, it's insane to me that people don't see that, like, at the outset.
I think that's true. I think 100 a month might be a little extreme because they
Well,
also subsidize that cost with your data. Like you've
oh yeah.
gotta you gotta keep in mind that Microsoft, Windows, Xbox, all of this is they're a data collection company, as well as a software hardware company,
Yeah.
and they're gonna definitely collect the data from your Game Pass subscription or whatever you're doing, and sell
Yeah.
that to advertisers. And
They'll put ads over your games or in between loading
well,
screens.
it's already on the Xbox homepage. When you boot up your
Yeah.
Xbox, you're gonna see some ads, and that's kind of frustrating when you bought
Yeah.
the console outright.
Yeah. I don't know. I have like no respect for Microsoft and Game Pass. I think that it's like just awful from the outset, and I don't see why people think it's a good idea. Like, I
I
mean, I'm sorry, I really just don't.
I can see why some of my friends, if they don't have the time or money to like really get into gaming, just pick up a cheap Xbox Series S and then Game Pass, and that's just their fix, and they don't have to worry about gaming anymore. Like I can
Mhm.
understand that, but it's not the route I would want to go. I do have a Game Pass subscription because of that price and
Yeah.
because I wanted to see what it was like. And cloud streaming to this deck is really good, actually, most of the time.
Mhm.
That said, I think GeForce streaming would probably be a better deal if you're using the Steam Deck and your Steam library.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad about having it. I personally don't see the appeal.
Gardner
So
personally hates you.
you're a bad person. No.
Didn't you say that at some point about if you use Windows, like in some degree,
I
just
probably.
shaming people for using Windows?
I've done a lot of things in my
Yeah,
in my tenure on YouTube.
10 years
I've
on
said a lot
YouTube.
of stupid things.
Um, God, where? Oh, that was the APU. All right, moving on. We've got shorter stories here. Call of Duty Black Ops 3 gets fixes on latest Proton experimental.
Yeah,
Um, Neat.
that's pretty cool.
I think it was the movies that was the issue. Because I think
Yeah.
otherwise it worked pretty well.
Yeah, I think I own that for some reason, and I've never been like a huge Call of Duty fan, so I'll
I
probably try that.
I bought it solely because I found out all of the COD zombies stuff was in there. I have never touched the multiplayer. I think I played the campaign, like the first mission of the campaign once and never again. And I am just playing the like Durais giant map constantly
Mm.
when I do play it, which is not often, truthfully.
Yeah.
After that, we've got the EmuDECK devs tease exciting new features in their interview with what was it, Overkill. WTF.
Yeah.
So
What do you think about that? What were the biggest takeaways from that?
oh man, I would love to tell you while I slowly open up the web page because I forgot to add that to the doc. Where is please tell me. Oh no, that's well, oh yeah, there it is. Okay, cool. Um so it seems like they're going to ooh, oh no. They're going to change some UI to make it more friendly, which
Mhm.
it's already doing pretty good. They're going to add more emulators, which I think in this one they say are custom modes for a lot of them. Uh, Pico 8 and Thai 80 RetroArch cores, the app image CMU for Wii U. Um, so some more flexibility there, which is great. One notable one is that you're going to be able to take a USB drive, copy your ROMs, and then plug it into your Steam Deck. And then this EmuDeck is going to be able to automatically pull those games, which seems
Cool.
really neat. Um, Looks like some fixes as well. Oh, sorry, the biggest one. I forgot about this. The biggest one that they are talking about is a EmuDeck store, quote unquote store, where they're going to
Mm.
have homebrew games that you can download from that store page to play.
Oh, cool.
They had a couple homebrew games included in like a holiday update that you could play through um, whatever they were on for RetroArch. I don't know which ones they were notably because I just keep playing my games, but
Hmm.
it is really cool to see more, just more options and more games come to EmuDeck because I truly think it's one of the, if not the best way to experience retro games on your Steam Deck.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's like, uh, I do you know Neryl on YouTube?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so I was kind of disappointed when I saw that he didn't want to do the EmuDeck thing. Did you
Yeah,
see that video?
I did.
He's
I
like,
did see that.
I wanted the authentic experience of setting it up and configuring it myself. And it's like all of the headaches that he had could have been alleviated by just running the EmuDeck script.
Oh,
And it's
absolutely.
like a lot of the stuff that people don't. One of the biggest things that one of the biggest misconceptions people have about EmuDeck is that it's like this third party thing. It kind of is. But what it is it's a script that downloads and installs all of the game, all of the emulators, most of them uh from Flatpak. So it's like it's what you would get anyway, right?
Mhm.
Um but it just takes the hassle out of doing it. It's like it's simple and easy.
And
And
also the app images, which are more of a headache to manage at times
yeah.
if you're new to the
Yep.
Steam Deck.
Yep, absolutely.
I
It's
do.
it's great. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think the Steam Deck has a native app image manager, right?
You can run app images on the Steam Deck, but
You
it's there's
can, but
no
you
like
can't integrate it.
um
I don't think.
in what way do you mean integrate?
Like the app image launcher allows you to launch an app image, but then integrate it more easily into your system, so you'd be able to find it through like the application menu, like any other
You can
programs.
set up that stuff manually,
You can,
but
you can.
it's not like a simple like
Mm.
right click add to menu or whatever.
Right. If you're new
Yeah,
to Linux, you're not going to immediately know that. It's app image
right.
isn't
And
like the hardest thing in the world, but it's still more of a
yeah,
headache.
right. Like app images are basically uh they're more like a app on Mac OS than
Right.
they are like a installer on Windows. And
Just
so, there isn't really a native UI in SteamOS to uh get the games running and put the emulators into places where it's easy to find and
right.
run. Um and I think that that's fine. It's but the thing is, EmuDeck handles all of that, so you don't have to worry about getting the games put into the menu or added to Steam or anything like that.
It,
It's
it
nice.
also sets up the folder structure in such an easy to read way, so you're not
Yeah.
navigating through so many different folders just to find where your saves live or where you got to
Yeah.
put the ROMs. I mean, there's a lot of like systems in that ROMs folder, but you just find the ones that you're using. Problem solved. Um,
Yeah.
it's so easy, and it hurts my soul when someone like my brother doesn't use EmuDeck because he wants cloud saves for RetroArch. Um, like it's just such a good Steam ROM manager included with
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
There's so much you can do with that.
And I think you can set up cloud saves.
You can.
Like, yeah, it's simple, but
You can do it through Nextcloud, Google Drive. There's another one that I'm not thinking of. But then you can also do Sync Thing if
yeah.
that's your jam. Um, I set it up for Breath of the Wild, but I have never really used Sync Thing to do that. I've been manually doing it every so often. Um,
Mm.
I also don't play on multiple devices, so much. The deck really has become my go-to gaming device.
Yeah. Cool. Um, yeah, and you know, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. But yeah, EmuDECK is awesome. And if you're out there and you have some kind of like, FOMO of like, oh, I have to set up these emulators myself or whatever, EmuDECK takes care of everything for you, and you're not really going to lose out on anything. You can there are guides out there on how to set up like cloud saves and RetroArch using EmuDECK and stuff like that. So don't worry about any of that.
That brings us to our final bit of news. ProtonGE 7-52 and 7-53 updates came out. 53 is a hot fix, while
Mm.
52, I believe, adds fixes for Diablo 4 on deck.
Ooh.
Diablo 4 proper fix from Proton Upstream. Halo Infinite fix slash patches from Proton Upstream. Proton fix for Outlaws and handful of missions. I don't know what that is. Underdog Detective. VKD 3D Proton update to get. Wine updated Bleeding Edge. 53. Sorry. 53 is a hot fix for Star Citizen and Easy
Mm.
Anti-Cheat, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
The game that I helped kickstart in college and has since never come out, really.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that game like 10 years old and still vaporware?
It's not quite vaporware because you can play the persist like it's there is a multiplayer that you can play right now with friends.
Yeah.
Like LTT has um them playing Star Citizen together. There's it looks very interesting, but it's not what I would call a game, more of an
Mm,
experience.
okay.
Um, and you just see there's so many headlines of people dropping thousands of dollars on concept ships, like ships that don't even exist in the game yet, but concept ships. And it's the most funded uh crowd funded video game in all of history, I believe.
Mm,
And it's wild. They have face over IP, which is they take your webcam and they use that to map your face onto your player character, and it looks wild.
really?
It's so weird. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it mostly works. Like you can make facial expressions, and it's super uncanny valley, but you can
Mm,
do it. Um, I recommend anyone just go on YouTube and start looking for Star Citizen videos because it's just such a weird rabbit hole to go down. And maybe at some point I'm gonna reinstall it, and just try playing it just to see what happens.
mm,
Because I intended to get back into Elite Dangerous and finally try No Man's Sky, like give that a real shot because I do love space. I love space games so much.
mm, nice. I remember being excited about Star Citizen like when I first started my channel. But I never tried it. I didn't even know that they had like a multiplayer. Although I do remember a like a Tech Longer, was it?
Yeah, that's the
On
one I'm
yeah,
talking about.
yeah. I yeah, it's jogging my memory.
Yeah. Go look up Tech Longer Star Citizen to see a pretty good
Mm,
video about that.
nice. Yeah, I think that's pretty much good. Do you want to do an
Yeah.
outro?
Yeah, we're up to an hour 40.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's about where we're calling it.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for joining us on the first episode of we said press Steam to start, right? That's the one we went with.
Press team to start.
The
Yeah.
first episode of Press Steam to Start, the podcast that I totally remember the name of and we didn't come up with right before shooting this. I would never. Um, you know, where can we find us? Gardner, you've got that YouTube channel, right?
I'm on here. I'm on YouTube. If you're watching this, you're probably on my channel already. And I also am on Twitter at Gardiner_Bryant. You can actually go to subscribe to.me and you'll find a list of like all of the places you can find me. And also check out ViewSync because it's awesome. It's a fun website. Jackson and I and my partner Emily are writing for that, and it's come into its own. It's a fun place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's where you can find my articles where I write about the news or random rants that I have, like how EA are a bunch of dicks for taking Battlefield Bad Company 2 offline. You can find me on Mastodon because I don't have really any socials, so it's at Jax7. I mean, it's down below. You can see it down here. That's fine. Ooh. Yeah. So that's pretty much puts a wrap on podcast. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully, same time, same place next week.
Same time, same channel.
Bye.
Bye.